Game begin.
Hello and welcome to episode 33 of the Spy Colony podcast. I'm here with officially, starting from just a couple days ago, an idiot, Michael J. Flores.
Oh, man, I just on my birthday. That's what you do on my birthday, and then I mean, just the idiots' comments have just been flooding the. That's our equivalent of flooding. I understand that that's like a trick.
It was like 3 or 4, yeah.
But I mean, there was just
we gave him free license, you know, like that's,
no, we didn't give him free license. And secondly, just because you change the name doesn't mean that I don't care if idiots join. I never cared if idiots join. I cared if they weren't being an idiot in the thing, right? They're just
well, it was like the purge, all right. It's like we gave him 24 hours. 24 hours of idiotic behavior was allowed in the Spy Colony Premodern group on Facebook, and starting from after that 24 hours, everybody got out their system. They're like, "Oh, we got to be idiots now. Rise up!" It's done. No more idiotic behavior. No more veiled implications about what the contents of other groups in the world might be. The only implication about our group is that there's a colony of spikes, and we're out here to game. So yeah, if you haven't joined us yet on Facebook, we're now officially Spike Colony Premodern on Facebook. Thank you so far. Aside from one day of complete unmitigated debauchery, the discussions have been really great in there and really solid, and so we hope to continue that trend. Aside from that, big week in Premodern. Michael J and I, we played in a meetup. There was the Premodern challenge just yesterday. There was a shout out to Jared Doucette for winning a small meetup in Massachusetts with Grotog. I have to mention it. So Burn won Magic Online Challenge, and then there was also the conclusion recently of the top 16 showdown event online. That was won by Elves, by the Kingslayer. Elves featuring 4 copies of Hunting Pack. So that's super fun. I don't know, more tournaments are announced. We've got Bearded Dragon coming up, and I've been playing a lot of decks. What about you, Michael J?
I played Tom's deck. I finished in the middle of the. Thank you for loaning Tom's deck to me. I borrowed it from Lanny, and I finished in the middle of the pack. I was like, whatever, like 5th or 6th out of 12th. How did you do in that meetup, Lanny?
I got last place. I wanted to do the fun thing and just like put together a deck last minute. So I put together the deck that I have like the most toxic relationship with, which is a slow domain control deck. This time I decided that I was going to go all in on thawing glaciers and score rack and Sylvan Library. I'm going to thaw, I'm going to library, shuffle, draw a card every other turn.
That sounds very powerful.
Sometimes I'm going to Burning Wish for allied strategies. Sometimes I'm going to cast Vindicate or something. You know, my colors are going to line up. I'm going to Mox Diamond, Thawing Glaciers, like just great combo. You get all the tempo back from putting a land into play tapped and then tapping it for nothing again and tapping it up, like porting yourself the following turn, just so 3 turns later you have another land in play. And yeah, I learned pretty quickly that there was no hope of ever winning a match in the allotted 50 minutes and also at all, period.
So any games. So that you played a similar, I mean, not the same deck, right? But you played a similar deck in day 2 of LobsterCon, right? The one that Detail and I.
Yeah, I had some fun in that day 2 because, like, I think, I at least got to put allied strategies on the stack a couple times, and then David Daniels went ahead and just pyroblasted both of them. So that was fun and cool and all. That was like my big trump. Yeah, I mean, stubbornly, I thought I was just like giving in to the Sylvan Library lovers of the world. I'm just like, fine. I only own 2 Sylvan Libraries. I can't put 4 Sylvan Libraries in a deck. And listeners of the podcast know that, my only alliance in this world is with Deep Analysis. And I played 2 Sylvan Library, 1 Deep Analysis. and just continue to like not acknowledge that Sylvan Library is like a good card simply because I still haven't picked up a couple extra copies.
I don't understand. I thought I was the Sylvan Library hater on this podcast.
I mean, I'm reluctantly accepting that Sylvan Library is good on like the basis that not on rate, because like 2 mana and 16 life for +3 cards seems like
kind of right.
2 mana.
Sometimes
it's like it's a divination for 1 less mana, except for like it's like a divination. It's like 1 G and then 4 Phyrexian G.
Yeah,
divination.
So, Jamie Wakefield used to play Sage Owl because he was just like, all these idiots, they play Impulse, but Sage Owl
it's a 1/1 instead of putting
I'm gonna play Sage Owl. And we used to make fun of Jamie, and we would just say the Sage Owl of Doom, because like, let's say you were stuck on 2 or whatever, like Impulse is probably gonna get you a land, right? Sage Owl might get you a land, but when it doesn't,
yeah.
like you're dead.
Yeah, Jesus.
The Sage Owl of Doom. I was a 3 Sylvan Library guy way back in 1997. I don't know if you listened to the Mano Landy Ho podcast from last month, but Lance Takuda from Team Austinites, Lan was from Austin back then, but Lance Takuda, he had a name like a Lan, but it was you added a CE at the end. Was
not welcome in the club, unfortunately.
Yeah, Lance Takuda was Lan's teammate back then, but that Bill Macy was on that team, and Adrian Sayers made top 8 of Randy Buehler's Chicago. They were also playing a black-red Necropotence deck that looked nothing like Randy's Necropotence deck, by the way, like nothing. It was so weird that they were the same species. Anyway, Lance was playing 3 Sylvan Library. He got me on board back in 1997. So I'm okay with like the lots of Sylvan Library thing. I don't know why I bristle so much at the 4th Sylvan Library versus I'm like, I'm down with 3.
Yeah, you're already in for 3. Yeah.
That's crazy talk, you know?
I mean, it does baffle me in a deck with like only 8 or only 4 shuffles, right? The red-green deck has 4 shuffles, and that's just like not a lot of shuffles for your library compared to, you know, a deck with like Gaia's Blessings and like maybe 6 fetch lands and just like whatever.
Just paying 8 is like a shuffle.
Yeah.
Remember when I paid 8 against the Cloud
library.
of Fairies and you and Lan were like, oh no.
Yeah, you've never gotten the good end of a Sylvan Library in Premodern.
Maybe that's why I'm like not as high of a Sylvan Library guy as
the first time you cast it, you increased the Cloud of Fairies clock by 8 turns, and then the second time you cast it, you had like 2 Moxes and another Sylvan stuck on the top of your deck for like the rest of the game.
I've always thought it was a good card. I think it's really good in decks with words, right? Like the ability to convert the free draws into profoundly kind of board dominating effects for so little mana is really awesome, right? Like I think like Sylvan Library Red Words is insane. That's just like a ball lightning every turn. Like it's like a directable ball lightning. How cool is that? Right?
I mean, it's cool. I wonder if it's I don't know. The problem is the words cards on their own in the absence of Sylvan Library are relatively unimpressive.
They're all terrible if you don't have something else going on. I mean, you could really only play them in very specialized decks, usually Enchantress, right? So,
yeah. I mean, I have like some embarrassing drafts of decks where I'm just like, if I have Sylvan Library in my deck and I have Latnam's Legacy in my deck, I'll just never draw a card that isn't good for the rest of the game, right?
How much mana does Latnam's Legacy
It's
cost?
1 in a U. Shuffle a card from your hand into your library. So you get to shuffle your library and you get to get rid of your extra library. Then you draw 2 on the next upkeep. Slow trip 2 cards.
So
it's an instant too, by the way.
Yeah, I remember like that card never picked up back in 97 when it came out. But it always seemed to me like it should be good. Like, because that was just really when people were thinking about Portents and Pond, not Portents, but Pond. Which one is it?
Portent is the old one, yeah.
Yeah, so Portents and I played Ray of Erasure for a while. Do you know what that one is?
No.
It's you mill the opponent for 1, or I think mill somebody for 1. I think it's mill the opponent for 1 slow trip. But people used to kill each other with millstones a lot. So I thought, oh, maybe does this help my strategy? And look,
one deck damage.
I mean, but it's also a cantrip, like look, we weren't that good back then. I mean, nobody was good, right? So I was trying to think. But I had that in a deck. It didn't last, obviously. But it was weird because I remember Chapin cast Latnium's Legacy, I think, against me once, maybe in Mental Magic. And the thing that I would say about that is can we take a really quick detour to agency and then come out of it?
Yeah, sure.
So Patrick Sullivan actually brought this up. And so I believe Matt Sperling joined it was then called Non-Idiots, and then now whatever it's called. He's probably confused what group he's in now. Like the day after I published the agency article. And they were both like sort of focused on the idea about agency correlating with fun and pleasure in a game, and that like I didn't do a great job because I tried really hard when I made like the erectile dysfunction joke or whatever, right? That
that's kind of sad that you tried hard on that.
Yeah, I tried hard. Well, a friend of ours, I'm not going to say who, said I've been doing way better at Magic ever since my erectile dysfunction has gone up. By the way, like the more erectile dysfunction, the better I've been at Magic. But put that aside. So I was just like
leaving out the important context. It doesn't make any sense.
This person said a funny thing to me.
Doesn't make any sense. Shout out anonymous person.
So, shout out hilarity, right?
So it's like the joke only makes sense if you know. It's just
so anyway,
otherwise it sounds insane to say.
Well, Magic's crazy sometimes.
Just promise. We promise that the joke not only makes sense but is hysterical.
So it is hysterical once you figure out who it is. Anyway, so like Matt and Patrick were like, yeah. So if you think about it, at the extreme is Mental Magic, right? Like I used to super love to play Mental Magic, and the people who are really into Mental Magic, and by I mean really into Mental Magic, I mean more into Mental Magic than I am. So like Chapin and other people from Michigan basically are the only people who are above me and being into Mental Magic, at least at the time, right? And they're like, well, that is the extreme of decisions and
the highest agency
and highest agency. And at the highest levels, it's not fun at all because it's just memorization.
Yeah.
So like all you want to do in Mental Magic is use like cantrip memorization by color and casting cost to transform your hand into entirely blue cards, and then cast the blue cards that are in a sequence of how busted they are, right? And like that's all anybody does. You can't. That's how you win in Mental Magic. Because like everything becomes a cantrip, and then you can win on small, edges. So like Chapin invented just like the Solfatara, whatever the other Solfatara is. The other person can't play any lands, and then you like cantrip them a bunch and cast a deep analysis. There's probably a flashback for RN2. I used to know all of these things, right? So and at that point, it's just memorization. So like maximum agency is just memorization or transforming your hand into blue cards, and then like that's actually not fun to most people, right? It's like so, and that would have been a great example, but I didn't workshop it in front of the game designers.
Yeah,
I workshopped it.
Might have been a good. You just only non-idiots.
It took Patrick Sullivan 30 seconds to come. So Sperling was like, "Oh, this is really good idea. You should have done this." And then P. Sully was just, "Yeah, this is the best example." I'm like, "Damn it, Lost in the Woods!
Come on,
damn it, Lost in the Woods!"
It's all your fault.
It was still 5,000.
Yeah.
How many words?
Yeah, it was still a lot. I mean, I don't know. Like you get too deep in a rabbit hole, right? Because like when we were talking about agency, I was like, I started thinking about other games, just like how much agency do you have in chess? How much agency do you have in poker? Right? I love poker because poker has variance, right? But complete agency. You don't even have to look at your cards. You can just play your hand. And I was just like, is that a high agency? Like, is that a decisions matter? Like, is that a like? How do you get your agency taken away? Like, only coolers and bad. Like, I don't know.
No, people play armor on the lane that you have X23 in the hood. Your agency is gone, buddy.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, do you like to play the seasonal events, or do you just play whatever decks you would have played otherwise?
Yeah. So for context, in Marvel Snap right now, there's like Marvel Snap is like kind of weird where the rule set is now changing every month. So like in Valentine's Day for like a week, if you like played 2 cards that were like in-universe characters together.
In-universe or romantic couple.
Yeah, in-universe romantic coupled characters together, like they would just get a point bonus. And now it's just like X-Men versus Avengers, and there's like 1,000 of each, and like they have, once you have like a bunch on the battlefield, you get extra power and stuff.
Well, so if you have X-Men, if you have 4 or more X-Men, all X-Men get +1/+1, which is a busted ability. And if you have Avengers, if you have 3 or more Avengers at a location, the location gets +3. And like, this is just super unfair. Like, I tried Avengers first, and I was just like, oh, this sucks. I can't lose with the X-Men. I mean, like, you just play like a bazillion 1 through 3 cost X. I have 1 forecasting cost X.
Well, it sounds like all your agency is getting taken away because you're too strong. You're too powerful.
Yeah, so I just have Namor as my only X-Men that costs more than 3, and then I just play him by himself. Like, he's like 12 on his spot, right? And then I have like 30 on the other 2 locations because everybody buffs, and they already have like Dazzler's already like +2 for you know like Dazzler, Wolfsbane, and Bishop are all huge already, right? Because you just keep playing Kitty Pryde. Like, this is X-Men is way better than Avengers. So anyway, the reason I asked was I don't have any 5 casting cost Avengers, so I had this quest of
cast of 5.
Cast 5, like I had to cast like 12 5s actually. So I ate those for a while. So I played your double combo destroyer deck, which is still probably my most successful deck. Even though they debuffed it 3 times since you gave it to me, it's still the best deck. So I was playing it, and I had cloning vats, and then I like looked, and like my board went flash, and I'm like, oh, my opponent is destroyed because of cloning vats, because I had like 3 X-23s and 3 Wolverines just from cloning vats. So they got the X-Men bonus, even though they're the only X-Men in my deck.
Nice.
And then I cast 4 Venoms that game. So I had 2 60 power Venoms, and all the rest of my cards were like 7/7 Wolverines that were
just taking all the agency away from your opponents.
It was super fun. I actually just wanted to point, like, I was just like, oh, this is crazy, because like I actually got the X-Men bonus on a non-X-Men deck. It was hot.
Oh,
okay,
that was like an appropriate setup. Yeah, just imagine if we had like Premodern, but for like a week each year, we were just like, all beasts get +1/+1 as long as you control 2 beasts. It's just like an emblem for both players. Like, just like imagine.
Oh man, I got an ad for it. I just can't believe
I don't want to talk about the Twitter ads. It's like, they're horrible, right?
That was just like, the problem with Magic is the mana system is bad.
Oh, so I saw that on TikTok. He just like rips a swamp.
Yeah, so this guy is just like, so he's literally he's just like, we invented a game that fixes the mana system. This is just adaptative Magic by Manuel Bavand, which I published in 1999. He's just like, make a pile of lands, make a pile of spells. He invented that in like 1998. And this guy's like selling a game on it. And by the way, it's not a good game. The whole point of Magic is that you can get mana screwed. That's how come anybody can beat anybody.
Well, if you, this got put in my TikTok feed, and I thought, oh, this is gonna be interesting, because I figured that popular opinion, like I thought that like, the masses, because like TikTok is like the masses, right? I thought that, like the masses didn't have like that sort of second level understanding that like the mana is like one of the most important parts of the game. It's like the reason why the game has lasted so long. And actually every single comment was like defending the mana system. Like every single comment was just like, yeah, that's like part of the game. That's the reason why the game's lasted so long. That's how it's like balanced. That's why you get aggro and control. Like, just like a flood of comments. And the person had to like reply to each one. It's just like, oh, I still love Magic. I just like, made this other game that has more interesting decision points.
I literally published the article Adaptative Magic by Manuel Bavand in 1999. And it's the exact same thing. You have 2 piles of cards, and you could choose which pile you want to draw from, depending on if you need a land or a spell.
Yeah.
Like he invented nothing.
Well, it's good. He's like got some other systems. We don't have to talk about this other game, which is, going to be another game in the pantheon of games that try to fix Magic by making it worse. We can move on. We can move on to Premodern.
30 minutes in, we can start talking about Premodern.
We're at 20 for the show notes. 20 minutes, talk about Premodern. show notes went over really well last week, so I'm going to do my best to stay on top of them. Yeah.
How many people said
multiple, yeah. And two separate channels, right?
Yeah,
First I post on Discord, fans like in this economy, and then Facebook.
Okay,
but
I would like to talk about AAUE's burn deck, the winner of the Premodern.
This is just stock burn with Seal of Fire instead of Mishra's Bauble.
Yeah, this guy is a maniac. Seal of Fire instead of Urza's Bauble?
That's like the pretty immediate place that people go. So like this is like fundamentally, so whenever I talk about Urza's Bauble and burn, I'm just like, so Shock is a disgraceful card to have in your Magic the Gathering deck. And it's just like, if I don't play Urza's Bauble, I have to play 8 Shocks in my deck, and that does not sound good to me. But
I mean, Seal of Fire is substantially better than Shock.
Yeah, sure. I mean, substantial would be not my choice of words, but
if they didn't have Modern Horizons 2, I'd probably be playing Seal of Fire in Modern, right? Like, it's very good for catalyzing spectacle cards or initiating stacks when you have multiple prowess creatures in play.
Yeah, I mean, in pre-modern, there's obviously relevancy, but I'm not going to say that Shock or Seal of Fire are particularly distant from each other, all things considered, when you can just like not play some of it in your deck. And obviously once you have Urza's Bauble, you have to play stuff at instant speed. So blah, 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 this, that, whatever.
Well, like Seal of Fire is much better against Circle of Protection Red.
Yeah, you can, there's like neat things that you can do, but we're talking like 2% here. Not like,
Yeah. So I just think that he's a maniac because he has no Barbarian Ring and he has.
Oh, I just noticed that there's no ring.
Yeah. So he has 20 lands and no Urza's Bauble. Like, this is crazy talk to me. And also, how good is burn if like such a non-optimized burn deck can take down the Pre-Modern Challenge?
I mean, I think this is close to optimized. I would just cut all the Seal of Fires, run full 4 Sulfuric Vortex, add the rings back in, and then it's also like if you're playing against more creature decks, like I don't think Seal of Fire is good against Oath, right? But is there any reason that it would be good against Oath? You can play it proactively and hang out.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
it can catch a Mishra's Factory sometimes.
I mean, I'd almost rather have a Urza's Bauble so that I could draw land because I'm getting thermokarsted.
That is true.
Like, that's actually like, how bad is it?
But it lowers the curve. It lowers the curve though. So
how bad is the 2-mana Seal of Fire landing?
I don't know. It's like it's bad, but so like a 1-mana Urza's Bauble is like not good either. So who cares?
A 1-mana Urza's Bauble might save you. A 2-mana Seal of Fire is not saving anybody.
Yeah, but if you like 1-mana Urza's Bauble and then you draw a land, you still have to cast 2-mana Lightning Bolt. So you're kind of close to the same spot that you were before. Just run 22 lands in your burn deck. Like this is what I'm saying. It's like just run a 22 land burn deck. You're gonna get some of your lands blown up these days, and then play 4 Sulfuric Vortex because it's the best card in the deck.
A 22 land burn deck is not better than a 20 land burn deck with baubles. It's not better.
I mean, I think it is.
Yeah, you have so many 3s. Like, I understand like the cards you cut aren't very good, but like.
I only cut Bauble. I just took Bauble Burn. I cut the Baubles. Out? No. I literally look at this deck. The deck that we have on our screen right now.
Yeah.
4 Balls, 4 Lava Man, 4 Pup, 4 Mog, 4 Blast, 4 Incinerate, 4 Bolt, 4 Shock.
You do not have
4 Sulfuric Vortex, 2 Curse Scroll, and then where this player has Seal of Fire, I have the 2 Sulfuric Vortex and I have 2 more lands. And if you want to run 21 lands, I'm okay with it. Just run 4 Sulfuric.
Yeah, but your
run 4 Sulfuric Vortex.
Your Curse Scroll operability must be really bad.
Because I'll sometimes have 2 mountains in my hand. Like on what grounds?
Because you can't empty your hand, and you're going to have like multiple different named Sulfuric Vortex and Ball Lightning in your hand at the point that you want to start operating Curse Scroll.
Why would I want to start operating Curse Scroll if I have 3 drops in my hand that produce more leverage than Curse Scroll?
Because like there's a lot of matchups where casting those cards is quite bad, like against Fire Ice or against Daze.
You just send. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. That's how come I ever beat you, because I just said
you just send, or you just 50-50 it, or you just
What kind of Gear 1 monkeys are you trying to turn our listeners into?
No, it's easy.
Don't worry, guys. Just send.
It's like pretty straightforward. I I actually feel like after playing matches with my deck where I draw Sulfuric Vortex every game, like I'm in the Champion of Champions bracket, right? So I played against Blue White Flippy and I played against Survival Madness. And like every single time I cast Sulfuric Vortex, it did 6 or 10. And I'm just like, this card is insane. Like this card always gets there.
You don't have to convince me that card is good.
So why don't you want to draw it every game?
Because I don't have 4 Sulfuric Vortex and 4 Ball Lightning in my deck at the same time ever.
But it's just like, one, it gives you optionality, which is sweet. It's like on turn 3, like you want to spend all your mana, right? And turn 3 is when you start slowing down, right? If you go 1 drop, 1 drop, 1 drop, then your hand is starting to empty out, right? So like having heavier cards, like you said it yourself, like the burn deck has to have card advantage, right? We're living in a world where you can't just like 7 burn spell people because there's too much resistance. So you need stuff that gets a little bit more mileage, especially if your opponents are like boarding in life gain. And
I'm
like
not
stuff.
arguing those cards are good. I just don't want them all. I never have all my Sulfuric. Okay, let's say like I'm playing against elves, right? Like I don't have any Ball Lightnings in my deck in that game, right? Like I only want cheap stuff so that I can kill their elves quickly.
I mean, you just board.
Pulled over.
You just take this list. You board out the pups. You bring in 4 Lava Dart. And then you're still operating exactly the same. It's just Mike, just trust me.
Try it.
It's so freaking good. Like it's like I'm gonna pull up Magic Online and just start playing you the replays and just be like, oh, I've got Sulfuric Vortex and Ball Lightning in my hand. Like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Cast my really good cards one turn after the next.
The only screenshots I ever see from you are you complaining that your Gear 1 hand was brick-walled by a Terravor. And then the punchline is you won anyway.
But I won on the back of Price of Progress, right? Like, I mean, this
maniac has 2 Price of Progress.
I mean, I definitely don't co-sign that in the world we live in right now. But I thought that obviously going into 4 Vortex post board against Terravor Oath has a pluses -1. It's a 3 mana spell, so you need to get up to 3 mana to cast it. 3 virtual mana, sometimes 4, right? But on the flip side, it turns off Zuran Orb. And like I said, you're running a 22 land deck. Like the reason I got there against Red Green, and this was just a practice match. There was no marbles in this match, but the reason I got there.
Are there ever any marbles?
There's always
actually
marbles.
There are. There'll be marbles this weekend.
Yeah, there's marbles this weekend. There's 1K store credit marbles. No, the reason I got there was because I drew 5 lands. I could cast all my spells. Like I drew five lands. My opponent drew like only 2 or 3 mana disruption. So I was just like casting my stuff for like whatever. Your opponents are also bringing in chill, Mike. Like just drawing lands is just fine. You just double fire blast them. Like if your opponent has Fury's Resistance and you're like, oh well, luckily for me, I have 4 mountains and 2 fire blasts.
Are we going to be back to like Gat versus Sly in the finals of this with this 1K? Because if you're telling me that's what we're going to be back at, I'm down.
Because I'm playing Burn and you're playing Gat, or what? Because I'm just advocating for you to play my Burn list.
I would just play your Burn list. I own all the cards.
Oh yeah, you have the cards.
I own.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That is generally the minimum bar for you to play a deck, right?
It is. I borrowed your deck last time and I didn't do well. I was actually thinking about giving Devourer another spin. I was down on Devourer after finishing in the middle of the packet, just like
I took it apart because I thought you hated it, but then
I don't hate it. I just didn't win any matches, or I didn't win about two fewer matches than I usually win at a meetup.
Yeah, vibes were off.
So, but then Tom was just like messaging me DI afterwards, and he's just like, "Oh, I made these changes, blah blah blah."
Did he just add a land? He cut a Factor Fiction.
4th Sabo's Web in the main deck.
Ugh. Okay.
Look at this beauty.
I'll repeat here.
4 Sabo's Webs.
I'll repeat here what I posted in the Facebook group. The structure of this deck is very concerning to me because 1, it has 21, 25, it has 29 mana sources. And then it's trying to put together an A+B combo with 4 non-selective cantrips, or 8 non-selective cantrips in the deck. So like, you just examine a deck like Dreadnought. It's like Dreadnought is an A+B combo, 8A plus 4B. It's the same thing as Devourer, right? 8 Fling Alter Dementia with 4 Tinker, And then like obviously outside lines just make 8 mana total and play Devourer plus a payoff. But Dreadnought, the combo costs 2 mana instead of 5. And it gets to run 16 to 19 lands, and it gets to run 8 to 12 to 8+++ selection spells, and its protection is like way better because it gets to protect with counter spells and meddling mage instead of like just
a lot of the time their counter spells cost 0.
Yeah, so like structurally, I'm just like, why? Like, okay, on the flip side, obviously the Devourer combo is much more resilient. In game 1, typically the only thing you really are worried about is counter magic, because most game 1 permanent based like hate doesn't really do much to you. Of course, there's no Pithing Needles main deck or in the format. There's not that many Engineered Plagues main. There's never any Curse Scrolls main, and those are the main things that you'll get got by Solitary Confinement and other edge cases like that. So it's a resilient combo, don't get me wrong, but the combo has so much mana input. And if you're using Mind Stones, Chromatic Sphere, and Sabo's Web to like cantrip, those cantrips are expensive. Like 1, 3, 1, 2, and 3 for cantripping, like just drawing one card and hoping it's the next combo piece. But is so much riskier.
That's not a fair assessment. I think Impulse is probably pretty bad, but the thing is, like, this is a combo deck where if you assemble the combo, you win on the spot, and it's very fast. That's the other thing. Like, turn 3, 5 mana or whatever, your opponent's dead if they don't have resistance. So that's very different from
right. But you've been conned into
2 turns after it combos.
That's true. I mean, that's the point that I was trying to make. But how many hands were you conned into keeping where you were just like, well, I get 2 redraws? Like, yeah,
but I wasn't losing because my deck wasn't operating. I would lose because I'm in that situation. Okay.
You lost because you flooded a game. Like, that's just yeah, I drew 7. I mean, my opening hand was pretty good, and like it's not good if you couldn't win, right?
Yeah, but
good opening hand in this context is like you can combo on turn 3.
Yeah, but I had a Furnace and a Pyroclasm against Feb. I thought I had the basis as well as the narrow part of my combo. So like either of the other 2 cards completes my combo.
I would not have Blast in against Feb. I'm pretty sure. Because the
Pyroclasm, not Pyroblast.
Oh, okay. So what was your hand? You had Clasm and Furnace?
Yeah, my opening hand was...
Clasm's not even good against Feb. It only picks up Birds of Paradise.
No, he killed me with a turn 2...
Yeah. Sometimes... So it picks up Hermit. Right? Like, but that's your... So
first of all, Clasm paid me really well. It got 2 or 3 guys on turn 2.
And then you died. And then you lost the game.
I did eventually.
Because you drew dead. Because... the deck, once you are past the first 7 cards in your hand, like can just like have stuff on the bottom, right? It's
this is my Oath Peluche argument, right? Just like it's a deck with 30 lands.
Yeah, but at least Oath Peluche has cards that let you get more draw steps, right?
Well, no,
so sure, your Pyroclasm.
You can't argue against an Impulse deck.
Okay, it has 2 impulses.
That's not the argument.
You can't say Impulse is the reason this works, and then only have 2 in your deck.
Decks with a bazillion mana are fine if they win the game really fast because you don't live long. The game. It's not that you don't live long enough. Okay. The game doesn't extend to the point that you lose to mana flood.
I agree because it's a combo deck, and you want your combo deck to have the minimum amount of mana to execute your combo.
Yeah,
like. I totally agree because like if you have this deck and you're like, oh, my whole combo is A plus B plus 5 mana, right? You have to draw 5 mana. And in order for you to do that, you need to like have a decent amount of mana sources. And it helps that cards like Felwar Stone and Sky Diamond let you put...
It's 8 mana in a lot of games, to be fair.
That's true. But the nut draw is Soul Land Sky Diamond into Soul Land Tinker Altar, right? So in that scenario, you're only playing
Soul Land, Soul Land, Felwar Stone, Star or whatever sphere.
Yeah, that also.
And then
works,
you can win on either. You can win
on
either. Next turn.
And then there's plenty of ways. Like most of the time, the turn 3s look exactly the same, except for you only have 1 Soul Land, so you can't quite throw it out, but you're going to go turn 1 Sphere, turn 2 Rock, turn 3 Tinker Altar, or turn 3 Tinker Fling. So that's all great and all. And like the whole point is like, you can't put those hands together if you don't have the rocks, if you don't have the mana sources. But the thing is like, if you have a hand and it has the rocks and it has the mana sources, but it doesn't contain Tinker, like you got to ship that hand. You got to mulligan until you have a hand that basically contains Tinker or a plausible path to Tinker. And like the reason why I don't like Sabo's Web is just like, sure, it buys you time against like the red-green deck, but it's just like, you can buy, you can buy like whatever, like 10 turns. If you never find your combo, then you're not going to get like I've had a very similar experience with Replenish. So Replenish, I'm like, oh, Replenish, I've got this sick combo deck. And then I was like looking at all the cards and I'm like, man, these cards are great. I'm so hyped that I've got these tides. I can tide combo. I can extend the game. And I just played so many games where I just never drew Opalescence. Just like never drew Opalescence or never drew Intuition. It's just like, it blows my mind that some people play less than 4 Intuition, because it's just kind of like, if you have 3 Intuition and 4 Opalescence, like Attunement's not a good way to get you closer to like stuff that you need, going down a card every turn. And then other than that, your dig is also Frantic Surge. So all your dig is like card disadvantage. So you're like not hitting land drops, or you're not developing. So you can't put yourself in a position where you have like 8 mana and you can do double spell turns. You're just kind of like, there's like it feels like you have no options. If you don't find that Opalescence, your opponent could be like tide comboed and then just be like, okay, well, let's work on getting back into this game. And then, like, yeah, I get that you can like replenish, tide combo them again, or like whatever. But at the end of the game, you have to end the game, right? You can't just like extend it 5 more turns. Like the game needs to end in you producing the combo. And that's the same thing with Devourer, with few exceptions. Like I know you got there with like a 5/5 Devourer.
I lost that game.
Oh, you lost the game. That's my point. It helps my point entirely.
My top card was Fling also. So if I had just YOLO'd my Furnace, I would have won. But the Furnace was doing such good work.
Yeah, you're like, holding it for the...
And I was just like, okay, he has to actually perfect me here, right? Because he was at the point he couldn't tap lands for his survival anymore, right? Because like he was too low, yeah. Right? So he had to like, he needed the land taps to operate on a basic level because he can't unearth into a Furnace, right? So I'm like, all right, this is actually pretty good. And then he perfected me. Like, yeah. What are you going to do?
But, you know, just like, what would you say the gears of Phyrexian Devourer combo are? Does it have a gear 2? Does it have a gear?
Gear 2. It has, I mean, I think that it had more of a gear 3 before this version, right? Like, Tom used to have deep analysis, right? Like, a lot of the combo decks,
the deep analysis. A lot of the Tom, no.
A lot of the like, progressive combo decks, right? Like I used to play Cad Bloom in Standard, like in 1998 Standard or whatever. I would win against control decks the same way how I play.
This deck is really good against control decks under most circumstances.
Where it's
even better with deep analysis.
You play like 1 card a turn, and then until they run out, right? Like, and they're like, you just slice like 6 must counters in a row or whatever. That's its like kind of gear 3, but it only has 1 path. Like it doesn't matter if you do that against a deck that has Gaia's Blessing and a Circle in play, right? Like if they have a Circle in play and they have Gaia's Blessing or whatever, they're like holding, I don't know, an Honorable Passage, something like that. And the only way that you get out of it is by answering their answer card first. So it is kind of weird. You can't really gear 3 them.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly true. I mean, I think the deep analysis plan Mike got disconnected and we're trying to get him back, but you know, to our listeners, I think the deep analysis plan is a great way to grind it out, and I think deep analysis helped along by intuition. I think your core combos helped along by intuition, and you know, there's kind of, I don't know, there's a lot this deck that can't do just because it has Sabo's Web, and like Sabo's Web is the one thing it can do, and like I just kind of like am unimpressed by what Sabo's Web adds to the deck. Anyways, basically, Tom's obviously been killing with the list, so you know, it's working for him, and you know, maybe that just means that I'm kind of overstating how often you draw dead, but I just think that one of the deck's core competencies is that it can win quickly against decks with low resistance, like Goblins, Burn, Elves, most creature decks, right? Meddling Mage is pretty good against this deck. Hence you go for pipe cards.
Pyroclast Meddling Mage to death.
And red green is probably not great against this deck because it can produce it can put down payments on its mana, so it can just like put the down payment in on Altar of Dementia and then eventually make 4 mana through your Sphere of Resistance to Tinker. So it's like a 1 spell a turn deck, and then obviously it's just got 4 Sabo's Web. I mean, that's the other thing. I'm just like, you got these Sabo's Web. It's like, sure, they're like good. They draw a card, they leave an artifact behind. But like, you already seem really good against red green. Like, you know, you just play a lot of mana. You play a ton of mana sources. If you play deep analysis, you can draw more towards more mana sources on the way. And like they're slow, so eventually you're just going to get them. Like you're just going to draw through.
When would you ever tinker for an ensnaring bridge?
If you have 3 tinkers in your hand.
I tinkered for a defense grid.
Yeah, tinker for grid with an extra tinker is like totally reasonable play. So like for the people who are completely unfamiliar with the deck, we'll just go ahead and explain it after talking about it for X minutes. But card runs Phyrexian Devourer, which is 6 mana artifact for a 1/1 Phyrexian contracts that exiles the top card of your library as an activated ability, puts X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the mana value of that card, and its power is greater than 7. You sacrifice it. It gets a trigger, right? That trigger only happens one so
time.
you can respond to the trigger and just make it the mana value of your remaining library, and then you either use Fling to throw it at your opponent or Altar of Dementia to mill your opponent for the amount of cards. So notably, if you have 2 artifacts laying around, you can tinker for a Devourer and tinker for the Altar of Dementia. So for 6 mana, you can lace the combo together with extra tinkers. Mike is commenting on the Ensnaring Bridge in the sideboard, asking when you would tinker for that, because if you have extra tinkers, you're probably trying to kill them. But you might need a tinker early in a hurry. I don't know. If you tinker in a hurry, you probably have cards in your hand.
The fact that this deck is, I could new border most of this deck seems kind of hot to me.
Yeah, except for Phyrexian Devourer, which is on the reserve list. There's like a weird new tinker. There's new everything else. Yeah, there's no new Savo's Web.
The Mind Stone looks like a Pokeball or something.
Yeah,
is that a Fallout card?
They have a Fallout Mind Stone. Yeah. That's fun. So yeah, I mean, I play a different Devourer list with Burning Wish and Intuition. That's just like tries to open with the combo every game. And like if it's playing a long game, then it has Deep Analysis in the sideboard, so you can like Intuition for Deep Analysis, grind them out. And if
that's like it's Gear 3, but it has no Gear 2.
Yeah, it doesn't have like a good way to stop your opponent's plan if your opponent's playing sort of like a disruptive deck that can put a clock on you. So it's like if your opponent like just goes like Curse Totem into Call of the Herd, like you're gonna have a tricky time. Like Call of the Herd, Treetop Village, because then this deck answers hate like Curse Totem and Engineered Plague mostly through bounce spells. Rushing River,
but then you have to win in one turn typically.
Yeah, right? Exactly. You have to win before it comes back down. So you get a lot of leverage about it. Like you're good against counter spells. Hate permanents are like annoying, but if it's hate permanents plus slowness, then you can grind them out with Deep Analysis. But if it's hate permanents plus fast, you run into the classic thing where like game 1 with a Reanimator style combo deck, it's like you always get them, right? But game 2 and 3, you need your combo plus a removal spell for their Leyline of the Void, or a like hand disruption spell for their surgical extraction type cards. So yeah, A plus B combo, and then you need to add C for the post sideboard games. But yeah, it's been performing for Tom. Unfortunate loss to Burn, which is surprising because the Burn player only has 2 Price of Progress. Notably, this deck, the Devourer deck, only runs 1 basic land.
This seems to me like a deck that Burn would feast on, right? Like Pyroblast is great against Tinker, and the entire mana base is just so vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one spot that Burn doesn't look like, the one thing that I noticed, Tom sent us a screenshot from the end of a Swiss game. The Burn player boarded in a bunch of overloads, which, generally speaking, I don't co-sign to like just trade with a rock and then sometimes trade with Altar of Dementia to disrupt the combo. Like when you could just be like going face instead of, because Overload doesn't interact with Fling, and it only conceivably slows it's slowing your opponent down at the same time as slowing you down if you blow up a rock.
But it's a highly mana efficient Stone Rain though, right? So Lan in our match, he actually Enlightened Tutored for a Seal of Cleansing, which he immediately used to kill my like Felwar Stone, or like killed my Mind Stone when I was tapped. So like I couldn't get value out of the Mind Stone, and then he won the game. So like the deck only has 21 lands, and so it leans very heavily on like the mana rocks as they're land drops, right? So like you get you get some balance back from City of Traders and Ancient Tomb or whatever. But then the mana rocks are like your land drops, right? Like you will often go like first turn City of Traders, Sky Diamond, and they don't make your next land drop, right? And then you have to use just artifact mana or something from that point. Because you might not also be able to play lands after you play City of Traders without losing the City of Traders, which is okay if you're just going to like 5 mana kill you in one turn. If you follow up with a Soul Land, for example, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like the fact that the Sapphire Medallion, or I'm sorry, Sky Diamond or Falwar Stone or whatever is your land drop makes it such that an Overload is actually just a 1 mana Stone Rain that actually stole an additional two mana from you. I think that's actually pretty good. I don't think that it is great. Like somebody could like weirdly slow play you where they just expose the altar. Obviously, then you're, kill the altar is great, but I think it's effective. I wouldn't have done it, but
yeah. I wonder how that played out. I mean, this deck does do a lot of damage to itself with mana. It only has Shivan Reef, City of Brass, Ancient Tomb. So the rocks also help alleviate that. I just like playing Mox Diamond in this deck too, because Mox Diamond is like literal -1 to your combo mana. So all of a sudden you're comboing with effective 4 mana.
Yeah, but you only have, how many lands are in your deck?
Well, you have Soul Land, so it's
no. How many actual lands are in your deck?
I think I run 24.
Okay, so you have more lands, right? 21 lands, Mox Diamond is very punishing, even if you have Soul Lands, right? Like you're just in the business of pitching a City of Traders now.
I mean, I think it just opens up awesome lines because so my deck runs Burning Wish so that you can get the extra 4 copies or extra 3 copies of Tinker rather. And then I run 4 Intuition. So you can open up Soul Land, Mox, Intuition for like missing piece into like Soul Land combo, or like Land Mox, Burning Wish for Tinker, Soul Land combo, stuff like that. Well, I guess you're short if you don't double Soul Land, but so, like you'll get it on turn 3 so much more often, and then it's like a painless mana source in a lot of other places. But the main point that I'm trying to make is like you can't like having the fast mana is pretty good in this deck because like you're pretty good at using it every turn. If you have a spare mana, you can just throw out a Chromatic Sphere and get closer, and you have a lot of stuff on 2. So it's like hands, your Soul Lands for what it's worth are Tomb, City of Traders, and Crystal Vein, right? So City of Traders on 1 is a little sketch. You can do it like you mentioned. Obviously, you're not sacrificing your Crystal Vein to put a mana rock into play. So you're really relying on that Ancient Tomb to get you to 2 on turn 1. So Mox Diamond is also like an additional Ancient Tombs, in addition to being an artifact that you can just sacrifice.
So I would say that this is a classic example of when I don't want to have all those 3 casting cost cards in my red deck, right? Like I probably would side out all like the Sulfuric Vortexes and Ball Lightnings. I don't want to play a game where I have to be like alive like multiple turns after I've cast a Sulfuric Vortex. That seems like a high liability game to me. What I would rather do is have all my blasts to like surgically take out their Tinkers. I would even just blast an Impulse like the second that they cast it. And I also want to leave my mana open, so I don't want to be tapping like a lot of three casting cost stuff in my main phase.
To be clear, my version of the burn deck would board in all the blasts, and like
you only have 3 blasts. I'm like a 6 blast guy.
I'll do this.
Also, I think that the curse scroll on the sideboard is no longer valid.
Yeah, so there we go. I've got 4 blast, 4 pop, 4 overload, 3 dart.
I only ever had it to beat you, and it doesn't beat you anymore, so forget about it.
Yeah, we know. No, I mean, like, just board out. Like, yeah, I agree that Sulfuric Vortex is bad specifically against the Phyrexian Devourer combo deck, which is only played by Tom Metelsky. It's like if Tom Metelsky's out in these streets, maybe I'll consider running 3 Sulfuric Vortex, or maybe I'll just sideboard them out.
To be clear, we have to beat Tom Metelsky next week.
I mean, we don't know what deck he's going to play. He could play.
He's going to be on this deck. Are you kidding me?
He's got a huge range. He's got a huge range. He can play Tireless Tribe. He can play Devourer, and he can play.
Okay, let's talk about this Tom Metelsky Tireless Tribe nonsense here. So he came in
for the listeners: 1 Wonder, 2 Psychotog, 4 Meddling Mage, 4 Tireless Tribe, 1 Prohibit, 4 About Face, 4 Circular Logic, 4 Gush, 4 Opt, 4 Shadow Rift, 4 Portent, 4 Sleight of Hand. 20 lands, including 2 Grand Coliseum as utility lands. Sideboard is Disenchant, Hydroblast, Blue Blast, Brain Freeze, Plow, 2 Salpo's Web, of course, and 1 Last Breath. For people unfamiliar, Tireless Tribe is a common from Odyssey. That's W for a 1/1. Discard a card from your hand. It gets +0/+4. So it's a Madness Enabler for cards like Circular Logic, and it combos with About Face, which says switch target creature's power and toughness until end of turn for a red. If you have 5 cards in hand and plus an About Face, you can make your Tireless Tribe huge. You are, of course, a little soft to the presence of a single Mog Fanatic. Stuff like Gem Palm Incinerator. And I lost to Tom because I only had 1 red source. So I committed a Skirk Prospector. He Hydroblasted it, and then he comboed me. Gush is obviously incredible in this deck.
The combo in this deck is you just play Tireless Tribe and attack them.
And attack them via Shadow Rift, giving it Shadow, drawing a card, and then About Face, turning it into a 21/1. And sometimes a 15/1 is enough.
Wow. So,
and you can also Shadow Rift a Psychotalk. Like, you can just go Gush. Thing? This deck is really interesting. Tireless Tribe is a really cool way to battle against cards like Goblin Lackey and other. Really just Goblin Lackey. It's like really good against Goblin Lackey. The rest of it is cool. Like Gush here is obviously incredible. Lets you get up to a bunch of cards in hand, so you can play a little bit looser and whatnot. But I have basic concerns. One is once again we're doing A+B, and we've got a lot of cantrips, but not like. I mean, we have 8 Okay, so we have the full 12 1-mana cantrips and 4 Gush to like A+B. We have a cool Psychotalk backup plan. This Wonder seems interesting. I mean, we have 4 Shadow Rift already.
If you could Intuition for it, it'd be one thing, right? Like just 1 Wonder is fine if you have Intuition, but this deck doesn't have any expensive cards at all, which I love.
Yeah,
with the entire deck
20
costs
lands.
1 and 2, right? Like so. Yeah, but it's like effectively like 26 land deck.
It also needs to produce red mana. To cast this About Face, and red mana is off color on everything, so that's probably the most awkward part of it.
Well, it's 4 City of Brass, barf.
4 City of Brass, 2 Undiscovered Paradise, 2 Grand Coliseum, so it's 8 red sources. So it's trying to string together About Face, Tireless Tribe, Shadow Rift, and a red source through 12 cantrips and 4 Gush.
So you know how you wrote that article, Iron Man versus the Hulk?
Yeah, my one article. Yeah,
or your one article. So I was thinking about this while I was doing the dishes yesterday. I'm going to write an article, probably just put it on 5 Floors or whatever, and link it from the Facebook
Spy
group
Colony,
non-idiots, whatever. So I'm just going to write it on my blog. It's going to be called Superman versus Shazam, and there's this comic book called like Superman Batman or something like that they made a movie of it that you could probably watch on Max right now, and there's this scene where like Superman and Batman are being hunted by President Lex Luthor, right? So Lex Luthor's the president, and they're the public enemies, right? So he mobilizes all the superheroes to go after these traitors to the United States, Superman and Batman, and like the climactic fight, Hawkman and Shazam, or Billy Bats and Captain Marvel, whatever you want to call him originally. I think he's called Shazam in the contemporary comic. Oh, he has 2 movies about him. You know what I'm talking about. He's a kid. He says Shazam, and then like the power of 6 gods flows
just
through
the presence.
him.
The presence of the movies does not imply that I even watched the trailer. So
okay, so Shazam is like he's like the strength of. I mean, it's like the wisdom of Solomon, the strength of Hercules, like the fortitude of Atlas, the power of Zeus. And then like this something else the courage of Achilles, and there's a joke just like, too bad you didn't have his invulnerability. It's the courage of Achilles, too bad you didn't have his invulnerability is a great line, right? When somebody's fucking with him, right? And then the speed of Mercury is very powerful. Is the power of 6 gods, right? So so the climactic scene is like President Lex Luthor sends Shazam and Hawkman against Batman and Superman, and the initial fight is like Batman versus Hawkman and Superman versus Shazam, right? And Hawkman is just like he's Indiana Jones, except he can fly. That's basically Hawkman, right? So he's an archaeologist who's like a maniac who thinks he's like a reincarnated Egyptian king, right? And he fights with ancient weapons. He fights with like a mace, right?
Cool. So it's kind of like Moon Knight.
He's in it. So, but he can fly.
Let's not
right?
get lost in the weeds. Where are we going?
Yeah. So it's like Superman versus Shazam, right? It's like two powerful guys, right? And then I can't remember which team calls Castle, and they go Castle, right? And then they switch it so it's Batman versus Shazam and Superman versus Hawkman. Like Superman versus Hawkman is now a blowout, right? Like Hawkman is just better than Batman because he's just like a dude. They're both dudes, but one of them can fly, right? So he's like has the advantage against Batman, right? But then when you switch it so that it's Hawkman versus Superman, now it's Indiana Jones versus Superman. Like this is not a real fight anymore, right? So then the thing that's really interesting to me, which is why I wanted to write the article, is it's now Batman against Shazam. And all anyone has ever seen in all media for the last 30 years since Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns is Batman beating Superman. He beats him all the time, right? But the thing is, he always beats him with tricks because he knows that Superman has two key vulnerabilities, which are kryptonite and magic. So he's always got a spot where he's just like, oh, you got me, but I've got kryptonite chewing gum, and he like spits in his eye with like kryptonite chewing gum. That's how he beats him in a particular fight. It's like, oh no, I'm vulnerable to kryptonite. And the Batman wins the fight, right? Or like,
and he challenges him to premodern magic, right? And that's how
whatever.
He does,
whatever. Well, that he probably wouldn't be able to beat him because Superman's ability to learn at like lightning speed would probably allow him to defeat him premodern. But he always has a trick. But here's the thing: Shazam doesn't have any vulnerabilities. Right? Like you can't get him with magic. He is magic. You can't get him with kryptonite tricks. Right? So then I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy because everyone has been conditioned to see Batman beating Superman, even though it's inexplicable. Batman shouldn't really be able to beat Superman, but everybody knows Batman will beat Superman all the time because he's always got a plan. He's got an angle to get in the I've got kryptonite or magic, and he gets him, right? So then he has no angle on this. So that is the crux of Superman versus Shazam, because in my imagination, 12-12 is Superman. It's really powerful. It is the Ur deck in the format, but it's got kryptonite. It's got magic. You can get it. You can get it with Meddling Mage. You can get it with Abeyance. You can get it with a Null. You can get it. It is gettable, even though it is the best. And you have these decks that are Shazam. And Growatog is Shazam. Just like,
let's go.
I'm not Superman. You're right, buddy.
All of a sudden, I love this analogy.
I got a lot of the same stuff, but I'm really not Superman. And then you're just like, oh shit, what am I supposed to do? There's a fight in Kingdom Come where it's like Superman versus Shazam, and so Billy Batson, his ability, he says Shazam, and a lightning bolt comes down, and he just says Shazam like 6 times while holding Superman, just nailing him with magic lightning like a bazillion times. Like Superman is fucked, right? Like he's just like, I'm as strong as Hercules. I might not be as strong as you, but I can hold you while I hit you with magic lightning 6 times in a row, and that's like a regular person being hit by regular lightning. By the way, lightning is 2 times as hot as the surface of the sun. So he gets him. It's pretty cool. Like that's like a lot of the things that are interesting about Superman is how people get Superman in stories, right? Like Superman is like technically unbeatable, but like he's just like, well, I've got kryptonite, I've got magic. So if you could figure it out, you could get me. But he kind of has to let you get him, right? Like if he's really just like, I have the ability to learn at light speed or whatever, like you couldn't ever really get him. He'd be smarter than the smartest AI. And the stories are just interesting because kryptonite gives you a backdoor, just like Abeyance or a Null or Meddling Mage or whatever. But there's these decks. And I think that Growatog is the best example of Shazam. But I think this Tireless Tracker deck is also kind of an example of Shazam. Like you just don't get it. Like people just aren't ready to be about-faced. Like they're like, Tireless Tribe. Oh shit. Like I tapped out Shadow Rift.
The deck can win on turn 2 for what it's worth.
You're dead. Right? Like so I think that's really interesting, Superman versus Shazam. And you can about face the hell out of a Wall of Blossoms or a Birds of Paradise.
That's true. Are you going to spend your combo piece fighting Wall of Blossoms though, when that would reduce you to like winning with Meddling Mage and Psychotog beatdowns? It's just like,
I mean, it's in the, dude, I'm going to use your favorite thing. It's in the range. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
It's true. You can draw 2 about faces. It can happen.
Second about face is quite interesting. It's just like when you have an Aquamoeba and you're like switchy bitchy, and then your opponent's like, and you're like, switch it.
Not as fun these days with no damage on the stack. Yeah, I mean, he got me. Tireless Tribe is good against Goblin Lackey. I tapped out of my red and was holding up Gem Palm Incinerator until I wasn't. So it's a sweet deck. Tom's been working on it in secret, so props to him for busting out and getting 2 matches up into the top 4 of
not a secret anymore. Anybody
elimination.
Can see this top 8.
There was just classic. I just love this because one of Michael J's favorite stories is talking about a Dothy Horror Dothy Slayer deck, just like a Dothy Horror Dothy Slayer black beatdown deck with maybe a burn spell here or there. In this case, Carevex Bite, and this became the beginning of the Prime Directive, which used to be called the Prime Rule, but Chapin took it and called it the Prime Directive because he's better at marketing than Michael J.
Yeah, but the Prime Directive means something. That's why I didn't call it the Prime Directive.
So there you have it. Strictly worse burn deck or slide deck, if we're being accurate to the Prime Directive, losing to burn in the finals. I'm talking, of course, of Kostek playing Mono Black aggro. This is just Black Knights, 8 phages, 8 Dothies, 4 Negator, 4 Wretch, Dark Ritual, Bad Moon, Unholy
18
Strength.
land?
An extremely bold 18 land. Dark Ritual's a land. We're fine. 22 mana sources.
I have won many a qualifier with 14 swamps, but I never went below 22 land. 23 land I 22 landed a lot.
The entire deck is 1 mana, 2 mana, or getting 2 swamps to cast your Dothy Slayer is definitely, whatever, but he made it to the finals and only lost to Burn, which of course is an unwinnable matchup for this deck.
Bottle Gnomes is his solution. No, but
just like had to draw the Bottle Gnomes.
The first time I won with a Suicide Black deck, it was 14 swamp, 4 Wasteland, 4 Mishra's Factory. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I played against Burn two of the first 3 rounds. I won them both. I lost game 1 both times, obviously. But my sideboard was just like 4 Engineered Plague, 4 Funeral Charm, 4 like 3 or 4 what's the pitch card that like you kill a creature game 3?
Oh, Spinning Darkness.
Yeah. So I just took out all my things that damaged me and then tried to win with like Mishra's Factory and Curse Scroll.
That's like another story, right? Yeah.
So, but I kept playing against aggro red decks, and I was able to beat them all. But I had a super aggressive sideboard for those guys. I switched from a Suicide Blackfish deck to like as kind of a board removal control deck and win with Curse Scroll.
Yeah, that's like a who's the beatdown story. It's understanding that you weren't.
That is literally the example I use.
That's who's the beatdown story. Yeah. I was gonna say it's like I knew this one rang a bell. Also hanging out, still talking about the Swiss event. The remaining player in the top 4 besides Tom was Fernando Gonzalez for playing Survival Tradewind. No oppositions.
So is this a thing now after the volleyball meetup? This is a lot of creatures.
This is way different. I mean, you got to play a lot of creatures. You're playing Survival of Fittest. It's always been a thing,
but it's
right?
a lot. When I say it's a lot of different creatures.
Yeah. I mean, Godfather played Angry Tradewind, of course, in the PSS 2 years ago. So, people have been working it. But yeah, Spike Feeder main, Call of the Claw main, kind of interesting. You don't quite have
why
as many
why is Gilded Drake so well thought of as a Magic card?
Well, probably just because right now there's gigantic trampling monsters. Yeah, but you get a 20/20 or a 12/12 with trample.
I mean, the thing is like, well, you're playing a Tradewind deck. You could just bounce the Gilded Drake back. I'm like, yeah.
I've never seen it happen. I've never seen it happen. By the way, like I'm just like, if you have Tradewind online, how do you lose?
Their thing, right? Like, I'm totally fine just mana warring this stuff most of the time. I'm super okay with it, right? Like, you're just gaining positional advantage no matter what. This deck does not seem to have good outs to the things that are good against it to me. Right? Like, this deck seems pretty bad to Sphere of Resistance, seems pretty bad to Null Rod.
Well, there's no sphere resistance in this top 8, so people just decided they were tired of playing the red green deck and just put it down. They're just like, there's too much Sabo's Web. Tom's out there with 4 Sabo's Web main. I'm just like not going to play red green.
Yeah, so I would love to share a story. I played Tom's previous version of his blue-red Devourer deck, which includes 3+1 Sabo's Web at the time. I was playing against Landy Ho. I got a fast kill. I'm like, because I knew what deck he was playing, right? Because we tested together for, always, right? So Land's one of my favorite IRL test partners. And I'm like, oh, you know Guy's Blessing, do you? And so I just mill him out. And he's like, no, but I do have Crows and Reclamation. And so his deck became 2 replenishes. And for my trouble, I was rewarded with infinite power and no permanence. So that was an unforced error on my part. Although I don't know how I would have gotten it, right? Like I didn't have like you said, like Tom's deck isn't particularly good at finding things it doesn't have. Like it's good at like you have some version of access to things, then you just kind of have to go for it. That's its gear 1. If I'm like sitting back,
you're
like,
just waiting for the fling. Yeah.
Well, Land's also a combo deck. That's the problem, right? In game 2, he mulched into Wasteland me, put me on a treetop clock, and before I could recover, he just replenished all my permanents away, right? Like, if we go to turn 4 uncontested, I'm not going to have any permanents in play. That's really the problem, right? So,
my God. There's another Tireless Tribe results on TC decks. David Cross playing the Portland Monthly, playing a Bant version that has Sunscape Familiar. Here we go. We got Deep Analysis. We've got Quiet Speculation. So Quiet Speculation for Deep Analysis to fill up our hand.
For 3 Roar of the Worm, brother.
There's 2 Roar of the Worm. Well,
what kind of
3
maniac
Living
only
Wish.
has 3 Sylvan Library, but only 2 Roar of the Worm in your Quiet Speculation deck? Am I missing something?
Only 2 About Face. We're just trying to go through the front door, man. We're just trying to like play Tireless Tribe as a flashback outlet.
Is Sunscape Familiar good?
Is Sunscape Familiar good? I mean, it certainly can be. A while back, Sam sent me a brew that was like Sunscape Familiar, like powering like an entire Bant deck that just like had a lot of these just like cool stuff. And then
that's like a Adrian Sullivan Sunny D, like circa 2001. But like if you untap with a Sunscape Familiar in play, right? So already this is a proposition. My 0-3 for 2, I get to untap with it. Now you can cast like multiple counterspells that only have like 1 U and you can cast 3 counterspells the next turn, conceivably, right? Or like or Adrian would be like, I have a Harrow and a counterspell or something like that. That puts you into allied strategies or
you just keep on naming cards I like. I love this.
Really
Collective
quickly,
Restraint.
right?
I had Collective Restraint this week.
Yeah, so untapping with that puts you into you could immediately Collective Restraint, right? Like that's a thing you could do, but like really the
Sunscape Familiar into Collective Restraint. Oh my God.
Well,
I'm making this deck now. You shouldn't have said anything.
3 counterspells on the untap is actually pretty hot, right? But this deck only has 2 counterspells, right? So, and then like white cards are actually quite bad if you're like center on Sunscape Familiar, right? They're not bad, but like you don't get
no. You're like a blue-green deck that splashes Sunscape. It's all fine. The deck has Mox Diamond, so all your mana problems are solved. Mox Diamond, Mox speed out my Deep Analysis.
The 3 Sylvan Library is badonkadonk to me.
It's the card of the month, card of the year.
Sounds like we should all play Burn because these people are all dealing 16 damage.
I mean, they'll just turn their draw steps into ponders. It's like not the worst if you have it.
It's great the first time. I agree with you. The second time, I've now invested 2 mana in a non-card. It's actually not even great the first time. It is. Does it recover the card advantage?
Yeah, no. It's a negative. It's a Sage Owl in this case.
If you don't have like a Wooded Foothills or you don't start paying for life, it's just quite bad.
Yeah.
I mean, on a card,
it just helps you find your Zern Orb. Like you get 3 more looks at Zern Orb. It's like what it is.
No, I mean, obviously it's just a tool. If you put it together with the other tools, exciting things can happen. I mean, it is. iCloud Egg in this deck. This deck is crazy.
We switched over to Blue White Tron. I switched the screen over. So now we're looking at Blue White Tron. Magic Marshall playing Tron took first place at the Portland Monthly. That's pretty cool. 20-player event with Tron at the top.
Took first place?
Yep.
I really want to play Tron. I was actually going to invest. I never owned them, so I was going to invest in original
good-looking Tron
lands. Yeah, because obviously I have a bazillion.
Oh my god, this also...
ones.
Wait, hold on. This is another Mono Black aggro deck. This event was on 310, so it was a week prior. It's just Mono Black aggro again with 14 lands again. And it just has Hypno, Hippie over Negator. But the rest is basically the same.
Like Negator is a great card, but main deck card, I think there's a lot of liability to it.
The only liability
maybe
is
not.
burn. The only liability
maybe not.
is burn.
Yeah, and like that deck is going to
Grotog might fire ice you, but you can just sacrifice your Sarcomancy in a swamp. Whatever.
Yeah, how great is that? So I own this whole deck in Black Border. You
got some beta Black Knights kicking around. That's pretty sweet.
Maybe I don't own this whole deck in Black Border.
You have beta Unholy Strength?
I do. I have
nice.
Bad Moons.
You have beta Dark Ritual?
You know that I have a set of Alphabet Dark Ritual.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, you don't really like care too much. Your collection is just like accidentally has like randomly sweet things going on. Yeah. This is a very basic swampy top four. We had Mono Black and we had Black Red. Neither of them made the finals.
Oh, is this the Mano deck?
This is the Mano deck because it's Rack, Lavaborn Muse, Rats, and Quell Therapy and Burning Wish. Yeah, this is straight up the Mano deck.
The Mano deck is way better than people give it credit for because I look at it on paper all the time. I'm like, this deck sucks, but it's actually not bad.
Yeah, well, you have to work really hard to get under the Oath of Druids, but once you do, you're fine. Dystopia. I'm glad this person isn't playing Dystopia because every single time I've seen that card on the battlefield, it's done very close to nothing. I'm pretty low on Dystopia as a way to deal with decks with green and or white permanents. Like sometimes people cast against me with Replenish, and I'm just kind of like, this doesn't really get me.
You know what card I think is pretty good that nobody plays, but it's just weird. Obviously, everything is context driven in Premodern. Is Gloom?
Gloom. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
Very powerful, right?
Ritual Gloom. Good luck, you.
That was a thing back in the day, buddy. What if you're up against Flippy and they're like first turn Ritual Gloom? I think Flippy's not getting very far.
There's no more like sweet like white spell deck anymore. Like Parfait had a lot of white spells.
Okay, you're Flippy. I'm this conjectural.
It's good against Flippy. Like, yeah, it's good.
Ritual Gloom. Like you can't even Savannah Lines.
But if you play Gloom on 3, Flippy's already on the board, and you're also breaking his standstill.
Your deck's probably great against Flippy anyway. Like all.
Black Knight, yeah. Mono Black Knight, suit up, Black Knight, Holy Strength, 4/3, unkillable, unblockable.
Yeah, they're not. This deck's probably great against Flippy.
Yeah. Don't have to worry about that.
That's a matchup you don't need Gloom. You know what card was really cool is it's like B for all white creatures get -1/-1, and it's permanent.
Oh, that's nifty.
Do you know this card?
I don't know.
It's Dread of Night, maybe.
Dread of Night, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. B enchantment, white creatures, -1/-1. It's printed in 6th edition and Tempest. So is this a card? This card's hilarious against Decree of Justice. Just like
you know what I like about cards
really
like
good
this?
Against Flippy.
It's like even better than Engineered Plague because it costs 1. I mean, in context, right? Like it's not very good against a ball.
It's good against Flippy, yeah.
But you play it and it's a removal spell, and then even if they deal with it, right, you got value. I love things that are those kind of plays.
How do we rate the Flippy deck right now?
It's great.
Great
against it. Crushes Burn, crushes Dreadnought, crushes
quite bad against weird. Oath, it seems.
It's very bad against
it sounds
Oath,
like it's
not great against Groatog.
Yeah. No, it's great against Groatog.
Okay, then I think it's great if it's only bad against Oath. No one's even playing. I mean, it has no plan to beat Oath, though, right? It just wins with creatures and has lands that you can blow up, right? Like, doesn't have a.
Yeah, you can't even play
Doesn't
Sabo's
really have a
Web because
route
it has its own
victory.
Mistress Factory.
Well, you could just not play them, right? It's the same as I was just like, all right, I think you can just take these utility lands out of black white. I mean, like it's like,
You
the
kinda
Dust
need-
Bowl is part of the engine. I'm like, it doesn't have to be. If you have Sabo's Web, you don't need that at part of the engine.
It's a standstill. It's a standstill deck though, so it has to like board out standstill or not play standstill, not play Mishras.
Saurus Rex.
I mean,
it doesn't have an engine. But some versions of Flippy have Enlightened Tutor combos, right?
Yes, but not the current version.
Maybe it's like Kurtar's Desire. Maybe Kurtar's Desire is the way to go. I don't know, man. None of this sounds good.
You have to cast several in a row. She's like, you definitely don't want to plowshares.
I mean, Red Green Oath Pollution is exhaustible by a deck that had Sabo's Web, though. Right, like that, they might not be able to deal 20 damage if you had enough point removal for the Terravores.
Yeah, I mean, if your deck is mono plow and Sabo's Web, you're good. But
oh my god,
not too many
here's
decks
my
can
new
do
deck:
that.
4 Sabo's Web, 4 Kurtar's Desire, 4 Swords of Plowshares. Come at me, Fran. I don't think Fran could actually win. He couldn't win, right?
I mean, not the first time you play them, but I don't know. Maybe they'll just sideboard something. Maybe they'll just like sideboard mono naturalize and just like keep Sabo's Web off the table.
Yeah, but then what if I am Gaia's Blessing?
Yeah. Then you got him. You're green white.
Or
the prison has become the prisoner. Just like trap them under their own sphere
I
of
love
resistance.
this. This is my no testing. I'm
Just said
straight into Bearded with my mono white splash Gaia's Blessing anti-Fran. And I'm like just straight up lose to Tom on the 3rd turn twice.
Yeah.
Like, interesting deck you have there, Tinker. Well, it was an attempt.
All right. So what are we playing next Saturday?
Sounds like Burn or Growatog. I was gonna play Red Green.
Is my glow?
I mean, I played Red Green in one meetup and I won the meetup.
Is my Growtog list even playable anymore? It was barely playable for the tournament. I got second place.
I think it's one of the best decks. I think it's probably the second best deck in the format.
Wow, that's high praise.
I actually was going to post in the group formerly known as Non-Idiots that I was just like, when did this happen that like Growatog went from like a joke meme deck to just like the second best deck? And I realized it was so good when Land's alternate deck that he brought was Growatog. Like,
yeah, once Land is like on the train.
Land literally doesn't make any bad decisions in Premodern. Like a lot of the stuff that he does, like people just don't understand at the time that he's right. And then so like if his alternate, and he's just like, the funniest thing was he's like, I have 2 cards that are good. It's like this card and this card. And it was 2 Sabo's Webs. And I bet if you just had Sabo's Web against Bill, you would have been in a better spot.
Yeah, I think I think I can play just Winter Orb, and then like Winter Orb plus Armageddon helps get there. And then Winter Orb's just kind of good everywhere. But I'm willing to like just play one Winter Orb, one Get In, one Sabo's Web, and then just like my opponent has to just like work no matter what for their mana.
Yeah, but like when you distribute like a bunch of different unique effects that are difficult for like each one is difficult for them to deal with in a different way, right?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Basically, what's going on, but you need to get there with like Opt and Sleight of Hand or whatever.
Then I'll play 2 of each. I'll just play 2 of each.
No, but they have Sphere of Resistance. Like it's just all of a sudden
if they have Sphere of Resistance,
becomes you finding the card instead of them being able to.
But you're in great shape though. So like, hear me out. Keep the Meddling Mage in. You Meddling Mage naming go with the Druids. They play Sphere of Resistance. You play Winter Orb. Now you're just getting in for 2 a turn. They have to commit all their lands, and then you just like get in them or whatever. You just like disenchant their.
Brother, I saw you Armageddon against Bill 3 times.
But
it did nothing.
If Bill's if I have a 2/2 in play and Bill's under his own sphere, then we're in a lot better shape. I mean, it doesn't beat Call of the Herd. That's like the problem is like there's nothing this Growtog deck can do to defeat Call of the Herd besides put a Psychotog onto the battlefield or try to grow a Dryad.
And hope it doesn't die.
Yeah, but Psychotog just gets blasted and then Dryad just triggers Oath of Druids. So
does anybody not just straight up kill Psychotog? Because like almost every deck has access to either Red Blast or Swords of Plowshares, right? Only Elves doesn't have access to those
Elves.
cards.
I mean, exactly. Everybody blast. Like Blast versus Psychotog is pretty devastating. So you kind of have to like chill them.
But Growtog's also very good against Elves because of the presence of Fire Ice.
Yeah, Fire Ice, and then you just sideboard into Mono Engineered Plague, and then you always draw 2. So just get some.
No, I literally just think it's the second best deck. It's just bad against red green. And you thought it was going to be good against red green because of all the reasons that you said, but in practice, you just got elephanted out.
Yeah, there's really nothing you can do about Elephant. I feel like there's probably a card, like somebody's going to like message me and just like, here's the card. Just Anorid freaking Brush Hopper, man.
What if you just played your own elephants and then you were just elephant parody? Isn't that the best solution? Oh, wow. I just blew your mind. Listeners at home, you can't see Lady's face right now.
I've thought about it. It's like a 3-mana spell. So what if instead we just cut Psychotalk and we play Color? This is not where it's not worth.
No, I mean, I only ever lose to you because you can kill me in like a one-shot kill.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're on a progressive kill, you're gonna lose to my regular decks. Right? Like your whole thing is like, all right, we traded, and like I have the last hammer.
What if we just played like a Bant Armageddon deck that had the
bad deck
Anorid Brush Hopper in the Psychotalk spot and just like
Anorid Brush Hopper sucks. We're not entertaining
it's
Anorid
the
Brush
most
Hopper.
efficient creature in the format. 7 stats for 3 mana, Mike.
Every single deck can play Phyrexian Warbeast. Thank you very much.
That's
every deck has access to
horrible counter.
Every single deck
sacrifice
has
a land. You can't sacrifice a land.
All I'm saying is Anorid Brush Hopper
Steel Golem
is not
is a good
unique.
Anorid Brush Hopper rules. Gush Anorid Brush Hopper. Let's go.
I'm not saying it doesn't have a spot. I've seen Rich Shea Brown people like, oh, I'm gonna baste you. I'm gonna put you over a nice slow roast. Then I'm gonna put you in the pan to finish you. Rich Shea, I've seen brown people repeatedly with Anorid Brush Hopper in the most inoffensive decks. Like, oh, here's my parfait deck. I'm just gonna attack for 7 turns, and they're not even gonna be 7 turns in a row. But I'm just saying it's not unique. A 3/4 for 3 is.
We can't fix the Call of the Herd problem. We're just
play Call of the Herd.
It's not like a.
Laney, you just play Wall of Blossom.
It doesn't feel sustainable. It just like doesn't feel like I guess I need time to unpack this because like basically Grotog's like pretty cool. It creates small windows, right? You just like put creatures in play. You kind of counter a couple stuff and you just like kill them in a small window. And then if your opponent's trying to play a long game, then you use Armageddon to reset, like create the window and then get them. And mid-rangey decks like the Rock, Rock playing Call of Herds and Phyrexian Ragers and Red Green Oath post sideboard. Like I beat Red Green Oath both game ones. They were still close, but I beat them. Post sideboards, just like I don't know, you just like don't have an angle on them. You can't put them in a corner and beat them up because they'll have Elephant or they'll have Pyroblast or they'll have Oath of Druids. And like you spend a lot of resources
make
working.
Your guys too big. Like a 4/4 guy is bigger than a call, and they can't be pyroclasmed or lightning bolted.
But you're playing whack-a-mole though. It's like you need to play the Career Dryad, but they also need to like not have Seer resistance, not have Oath of Druids.
You just push, right? Like their life total becomes the limiting factor. Like they can't just be like, okay, I have a 3/3 if you have a 4/4. You just attack them, right? Like. What's the problem? If they have services, they can't even flash back the Call of the Herd.
I mean, it's just hard to make a Dryad that's like large enough to be, like Call of the Herd also just like double blocks. So you need to get your Dryad to 7. You need to you can't get your Dryad. You can't get your Dryad to 4 if there's a Seer resistance in play. That's the other struggle.
So here's my thought.
And you also have to have something for Oath.
Here's my thought. I think GAT is good. I think it's funny that you're the only one who was the GAT advocate for so long, and then now that I think GAT is like one of the best decks, you're like, is it even playable? Can we even play GAT? It's not good anymore.
I mean, we just like can't do anything about this red green deck. It's like very frustrating. Like the whole point of the deck is like no bad matchups, right? It's like even the Rock with all its Call of the Herds, at least you're just isolating Call of the Herd Pernicious Deed, right? And then you can like isolate that pretty easily with Armageddon. It's like, how do you isolate Sphere Resistance, Oath of Druids, and Call of the Herd? Like, How do you?
You can't get an angle on them. You have to gear one them. That's why I'm saying, like, look, the beauty of your deck is that you can push, right? Imagine that you had playable Dead Guy Ale and your bad matchup was another slow deck, right? Like, you can't push. The closest thing you have to pushing is attacking on turn 4.
Hardcast Eternal Dragon.
Yeah, like everybody can stop a single vanilla 5/5, right? Like
It has flying. That's flying. French vanilla.
Yeah, so like there's not a deck that can't stop that. That's my point, right? Like if your bad matchup is another slow deck and you can't push, man, you're in trouble there because it just go like nobody gear 2s, right? It just always goes to gear 3, and they always win in gear 3, right?
Okay,
like,
let's assume that you know that
you can if you,
I understand what you're saying. Let's assume that you know that I'm playing Grotog. Then what do you have to play? Red green.
I mean, it's Grotog with no dazes. Daze free. I think I'd probably just play the red deck.
Interesting. I want to play Devourer. I want to play Devourer Laney's version. I think the deck is interestingly positioned. I don't think it's like has great positioning. Meddling Mage is a problem. Like Meddling Mage naming Tinker is like a giant pain in the ass. Laney Burn with 4 Sulfuric Vortex. If you're listening to this, hit up my Moxfield. I don't know. It's like Moxfield Laney Nini, probably. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Anyways, find it. 4 Sulfuric Vortex, or just go look on a list, take the baubles out, add 2 Sulfuric Vortex, 2 Mountain, pretty easy. Like, just start messaging me about how awesome my deck is, and just trust. It's so good. Goblins.
Yeah, let's play your deck.
Goblins always
I have
a
enough
consideration.
extra weird mountains now. So I bought the stupid Godzilla mountain. You know that?
Nice.
Because I was criticized for my selection of certain cards. So all just gives me access to play more mountains. Like look at this mountain.
Nice.
That's a goofy mountain.
Yeah, goofy mountain.
Kamigawa mountain. Look at this one. I bought this mountain, the one that has all the text.
That's atrocious.
Yeah, the whole point is to have atrocious mountains. But the Godzilla mountain, this one was $15.
Well, that was a waste of money. Promo code Flores on coolstuffinc.com.
Promo code Flores.
I took Ancient Tomb Goblins. Everyone's just like, you don't have enough red sources. I'm like, you're wrong. And then I like played a bunch and I'm like, you're right. So I just cut 2 ports.
Red sources.
Yeah. So I just cut 2 ports and then added 2 mountains back in. I also cut the Skirk Prospectors down to 1. That's a card that I've been enjoying having less of. It's fun to have the combo piece. But like I'd rather have it to like fetch up for big turns if you draw the sharpshooter and whatnot. Like the sharpshooter is good on its own, but the Skirk is like has to hang out with sharpshooter or siege gang to be good. So it's just not a card that I thought made sense to play 3 of. Gem Palm Incinerator is awesome, makes you grindier. I went up to 3. I'm going to go up to 4. I'm going to cut the Sparksmith. So yeah,
I was going to ask you because Jeff White was asking me how Sparksmith was going. So
it was like, in theory, it was like cool because it was like, I'm going to shoot down every Exalted Angel you play from now on. And it's just like so hard to put yourself in a position. Like, yeah, Sparksmith is like really good against Call of the Herd for sure. But like, if you have a bunch of goblins in play and your Sparksmith is an Incinerator, like you just get so much more tempo from just like incinerating, drawing a card, and then you can probably just all in the next turn. Like, I like putting goblins in like. What's that?
You have no Tinkerer in the main deck?
No Tinkerer main. Just like win the die roll and lackey them. Just like, because they can just like have plow. I don't know. I mean, I just like don't like using the space. But I guess if you wanted to make changes to my deck, like it's pretty easy to just.
I'm up to 1+1 Tinkerer in my imaginary goblins deck in my head.
Yeah, I mean, you can just move the Tinkerer main, move 1 sideboard, get rid of Sparksmith. That's totally defensible. So that's a cool deck. Mono Blue Knot was fun, but probably not a thing. Replenish is unplayable.
Yeah,
it's really bad.
Lan only played it because he knew that there was going to be no red deck, so he could just save all the Hydroblast.
Yeah, he just got rid of it.
He says you can't really play that deck in a tournament, like a real tournament.
Yeah. Replenish, I'll talk about for a second. People have been kind of asking around about Replenish. Shout out to Andy Culpepper who pulled off a 6-0 in the pod rounds and the monthly. But aside from that, Pablo Marcos, Paulmaster, has been kind of killing it with Replenish, despite the fact that the deck is relatively soft to red green. I don't think it's like horrible against red green. I just think it's like not ideal to try to fight through the hate, but notably you do turn off Oath and you're kind of good in the long game.
Everybody's bad to red green, and red green just beats itself. Like that's like just red green structural issues.
No deck. Yeah.
Nobody beats red green if it executes its plan.
Yeah, it's like 15% of the time red green kind of like fizzles out or like doesn't get a good opening hand, but like the rest of the time it's just like it's really hard to angle on them, and it's like really hard to angle on them post sideboard. And like this whole, the Sabo's web thing is just, I just don't know, man. Like
there's just not enough of them. Another
week has gone by, and like, I guess we just keep talking about it and not like testing it. And it's just like, yeah, it's a good card. It's going to 2-for-1 them. It's going to be annoying. Like play it, figure it out. But like, I don't want to add it to any of my decks.
Yeah, so that's the problem. Like imagine. Do you remember when I was resistant to adding Meddling Mage to mono blue 12/12?
Yeah, but
I don't want to cut Impulse or whatever the stupid argument.
How many players in the room have to be affected by Sabo's web to make it a reasonable card? Like, is it just one? Is it just the person in the finals?
I did it just for Bill, and I would have won the tournament if you hadn't beaten me. Like that's my argument, right? Like I took a deck that was good enough already, and then I put it in a position where it would be able to win, right? Like that's the way I think about it. Because here's the thing: my ultimate thesis on red green is the reason, not the reason. It has a lot of good points to it, right? But one of the main reasons it's so successful is that nobody respects it. Like when I say respects it, I mean they don't have any cards for it.
We're past this point. What does respecting it look like? Tell me the exact deck that you would play. Is it just Blue-White Dreadnought with 4 Sabos web or what?
That is a solution, but I think every single person in the room has to acknowledge it to some degree, or it will continue to have outsized results. Let me give you some examples that don't exactly answer your question, that answer your question by implication, right? Land says no one should play Hydroblasts and Circle Reds and stuff like that because they never come up. And
Land has said that you won't play against Burn past round 1, and with Burn winning another Swiss tournament, he's just not right. Wrong. That's just not true, right?
But I mean, in his experience in like our local meta game, he's just like the only competent player who ever plays Burn is Mike, right? And so he's just like they just don't play it.
Well, Shane hasn't rolled up to. Does Shane normally come to meetups? Shane,
no, he doesn't come to meetups.
Roland sometimes plays.
So Shane top 4'd the last Bearded, and he top 8'd Sacred Torch, right?
Yeah.
So that's Land's argument is that like everybody though, like if you look at the sideboards, like look at what Sonny's sideboard was like: 2 Circle Red, Warmth, multiple Hydroblasts.
Yeah. He was saying
he's like so many sideboard cards for a deck that isn't there.
The thing that Land said that I liked was just like people just hate losing to Burn. They just hate losing to Burn, so that they just like play 100 Circle Red in their sideboard so that they'll just like never lose to Burn. It's just like. Yeah, he's like, you don't have to worry about Burn past round 1. But the fact of the matter is, I had to play against Burn in the top 4 last time I played against Burn, and like that top 4 match was like good for like $60 or something. So
when you had a lot of resistance cards to Burn, and it still wasn't enough.
Yeah, which is a good argument for cutting them. So anyways, let's circle back. You just want to change all your Burn cards for Sabo's web.
So. It's not that you have to change all your Burn cards for Sabo's web, but let's say just for sake of argument, everybody's maniacs right now, and they're like 1 to 2 Circle Red if you're white, plus Enlightened Tutor, plus a Warmth, right? Plus you have your auxiliary card, right? Like everybody needs an auxiliary card because just everybody knows you don't beat them with 1 Circle Red, right? So you do Circle Red and something, right? And then you've got like, okay, I'm also going to like lever down my mana curve and have cheaper removal or whatever. If some of those cards across every single person in the room, if some of those cards become Sabo's Webs and Sacred Grounds, it's not that Red Green won't still be a tier 1 deck. It just won't win everything, right? Like, that is the natural order of things.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I like this from like a like incremental, like change kind of thing. But I think the harder part is just like, okay, like say you're a Goblins player, like, I mean, we just have to do it. But this is what I predict will happen. It's like I'll put Sabo's Web onto the battlefield, and then my opponent will proceed to not tap their man lands and just use them to block my Goblins until they draw Pyroclasm and Naturalize. I mean, but I will amend. They won't draw Naturalize because they won't have it in their deck against Goblins. But like they can hold down the fort and they can just go for their Terravore plan. So your Goblins deck needs to contain 4 Sabo's Web and 3 Threaten in order to 4 Tranquil Domain. Like
when I beat Goblins with red green, I did it on the back of 3/3s, right? So I was just like elephant.
Yeah.
I didn't get attacked. But I don't even know if I would have been able to do that if like I was tapping Wasteland and Rishon Port to cast those elephants.
True.
So I don't think that you can just like block with your manlands. You're gonna eat it to Tinkerer and Sparksmith.
Well, Sparksmith,
Incinerator, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Incinerator, all of them. Like those cards are terrible.
But I mean, okay. So our plan on Goblins is 4 Tranquil Domain, 6 Naturalize effects, 4 Sabo's Web.
Like, but then leaving all the Incinerators so people can't play your game plan, because I think that like Elephants against Goblins is a very, very natural game plan.
Then you need the friggin'.
So if I'm like Pile Driver go and you're like 3/3 and then I'm Sabo's Web post 3/3, you probably lost the game. It's over now, right? Like you're not untapping any of the lands you just tapped. I'm gonna Incinerator your 3/3 and then I'm gonna kill you with the Pile Driver.
Well, they get every Mox, Karplusan Forest, Mountain, and Forest, and then they typically don't have Sphere post board against Goblins.
Yeah, but we're gonna be like Max Tranquil Domain Hull Breach or whatever, right? Like those cards didn't stop being good. We just now have specialized cards. I think Goblins plays too many cards like Pyrokinesis. That's my thesis.
Pyrokinesis is a pretty key part in helping Goblins defeat Burn, though.
Bullshit.
It's come into play in a lot of Goblins versus Burn matchup. It lets you tap out into Ball Lightning. It's pretty sick.
You know what else lets you tap out into Ball Lightning? Mog Fanatic.
Yeah, but you only get to have 4, and the burn opponent
has 12 Mog Fanatic.
The burn opponent can Lavadar your Mog if it came down to it.
I mean, did you watch like Ethan versus Aaron?
Mike, I'm citing evidence. I'm citing evidence from like a long line of people who like play a ton of Goblins. Like if you talk to Jared Doucette or Smits, like they're gonna be like, yeah, Pyroke is like the key to like winning the burn matchup. I feel confident in that.
I don't know, man. I don't know how their burn opponents are playing. I find this to be an incredibly frustrating matchup from the burn side, and it's not because of Pyrokinesis. The reason that it's frustrating is because you're always in these weird spots where like Jackalpup might be good and it might be terrible, and it's like weird. Like, can I even side this out?
Not to mention that it shuts the door on elves. Like I know that you start good against elves, but part of the reason why you become insane,
need it.
You just watch Mengu's video. He's like Mengu's got survival online.
Yeah,
literally
but like,
got every creature in his entire deck. Just get Pyrokinesis out.
I lost a game today where I had like 12 on the kiln and my opponent had like 2 on the kiln. So I just put so much power onto the kiln. Then I'm like, okay. Then I'm like, now it's like turn 6 or whatever. And I don't have powerful cards to play on the open spaces. So you can get one of the other 2. And like, that's Pyrokinesis. You don't need to put 12 on the kiln against a deck that you always beat. Like that's ridiculous, right? Like, it's not that it's not a good card. It's just ridiculous. Like I don't care what people say in terms of this is a key part of this. Why? You would have won anyway. Like, just because you do a devastating thing doesn't mean you were not going to win the game. Because that card, I've played against Pyrokinesis a bunch, and it has caught me in the past. And I can say with confidence that the games that I lost to Pyrokinesis, I probably still would have lost. And their deck would have been
You don't
better.
have enough Mog Fanatic. Like your Mog Fanatic has to get every Grim Lavamancer, and you have to hold one up for Ball Lightning against.
You have 4 Mog Fanatic, Sharpshooter.
Sharpshooter never survives. Haste never survives. Haste never survives.
And
your opponent does not have to work that hard to shock your War Chief. we're
I don't
booting up
think I've
Magic
ever
Online
had-
right now.
I
We're
actually
booting
don't-
on
I
Magic Online right now.
I actually don't think I've ever had a Grim Lavamancer activated against me when I was Goblins because I just sandbagged until I had
I'm crushing you. I'm crushing you on burn. I swear to God. My Force Sulfuric Vortex burn with the pyrokinesis, the lava darts that I get.
I'm going to put crush in quotes. I think we will each win some of the games.
I will win a majority of them.
You will not win the majority of the games.
You won't have pyrokinesis. I'm just going to kill everything and then send a ball lightning. I have Force Sulfuric Vortex. I'm just going to kill everything and just sit back.
Your strategy doesn't even make any sense. You're not going to beat me with this strategy. You're not going to beat me by playing more 3 casting cost cards against me. That's awful.
Yo, your cards cost 3+. The only refuge you'll have is that your Goblins list probably doesn't contain Ancient Tomb. That's like the only place you can go. You're telling me you're going to go land, ringleader, and then sit back and get smacked in the face by ball lightning without any free way to deal with it.
My opinion on this is I used to think that burn was a heavy advantage because
and then you watched one match.
It was the Harry.
You watched one match.
I've played it and I've lost with burn more than I thought that I should lose. Then I played it from the Goblin side and I won a bunch. I mean, I think that if I'm burn, I'm still a favorite to win, but not a heavy favorite, right? Like not like 70% or something. I think like I'll win on like gritting my teeth really hard and a little bit of extra skill.
Now I'm money matching this. I'll give you odds.
How do you want a money match on this? I think both decks can win.
I'll just give you odds.
Is the definition of both decks.
I'll just give you odds. I'll give you 60-40.
Which side am I?
You're playing Goblins.
I'm Goblins
with 0 pyrokinesis.
I didn't say
with 3 Sabo's Web over pyrokinesis in the sideboard.
Okay,
so you can keep my barbarian rings tapped.
So I didn't say the pyrokinesis is a bad card. I said that it leans too much into pyrokinesis.
You're right. You're right in the sense that if this is what Sam Black called me out. It's like if the metagame is going to shift towards Red-Green Oath and away from decks like Elves, pyrokinesis becomes less good, right? And if Red-Green Oath is supposedly good against burn, which we still haven't found out the truth. If it's good against burn, then burn gets pushed out and their pyrokinesis becomes less good. So yeah, I am holding on to the idea that pyrokinesis is like super great against great in Goblins. However mid pyrokinesis might be, it still is like draw your sideboard card and win no matter what. Like I understand what you're saying. It's like sure, I'd rather like just get them with sharpshooter or whatever, just whatever. But like put it another way, the only way Goblins can lose in a lot of these creature matchups is like if you just don't draw Goblin Matron. It's just like you just like can't get it out.
Goblins is just in the abstract naturally advantaged against other creature decks in Premodern because 1 + 1 = 3, right? That's Goblin's shtick.
Yeah,
right?
except for clerics.
Right, look,
and Silver Knight sometimes.
Maybe not clerics, okay? Actually, it's okay against Silver Knight, right? It's not great against Silver Knight, but it is better against Silver Knight than you might give it credit for, right? Because it has naturalized in the main deck. All right, so but it's 1 + 1 = 3. That's why it's advantaged. All of a sudden, when you play a lot of like pyrokinesis and hull breaches, and I don't think I've ever sided a Tormod script in. I've had them in my sideboard the entire time, but I don't think I've ever sided
I'm down to change the Tormod scripts. I do agree that Wasteland is a better method.
When I beat you, when you were playing Replenish, I had 0 Tormod scripts in my deck. And I was just like, this makes no sense to me because I'm making my deck 1 + 1 = 1. It's like not even 1 + 1 = 2 anymore, right? Like I just look back on that match where you beat Smits in the top 8 and I'm like, oh my God, Lanny's down 3 cards and he's had a first turn Goblin Lackey the entire game. His Goblin Lackey was deploying 1/1s. There was just no offense on that, right? Like, and the reason was like the post sideboard of Goblin's deck at a default is no longer 1 + 1 = 3. When you say, like, oh, if your Goblins is going to lose, it's because they didn't draw Pyrokinesis. No, it's because Ringleader turns over and flips over 1 Skirk Prospector. That's why it's going to lose, right? You need every single Ringleader to beat the freaking Banhammer. If that's happening, no one beats you. It doesn't matter how many Pyrokinesis you have. You can cast all your spells because you have Skirk Prospector and Goblin War Chief. Like, and then all of your spells are like twice as good as they're supposed to be because you're a linear tribal deck. Like, but all of a sudden you're just like, oh, I'm going to play this and this. You are literally now a mid-range removal deck with a bunch of shitty creatures. You are the Rock with no Ravenous Bow.
I mean,
right?
I think you're actually a great, like, for instance, in the Dreadnought matchup, you're cutting all your 4s and 5s to just get in 3 damage a turn while you hold back all your control, right?
Well, so it's different how you want to flip it. The Dreadnought but remember, I couched this by saying it's advantage against other creature decks, then I started my tirade, right? If you're saying Dreadnought is combo control and I'm switching my deck to aggro control, that's different. Right. I am now aggro control.
Understood.
Okay?
But even
in fact, quite a good aggro control deck. But if you're just like I'm gonna be like, I'm just gonna be the Rock. I'm a removal deck after sideboarding, but my creature's all blown out. Like 1/1 for 3 sucks. 2/2 haste for 4 that didn't draw any creatures. That just sucks, right? Like that's the Goblins deck in a lot of people's imagination of a post-sideboard Goblins deck. That's not a recipe for beating other creature decks.
I understood. How many points do you get against Red-Green Oath with Sabo's Web then in Goblins?
What does a point refer to? Is that a percentage point?
Yeah, percentage win rate.
Oh, like in 17 lands, it's like opening hand win rate percent. It's probably like plus 15% if it's in your opening hand. It's probably at least like plus 7% if you cast it over the course of a game. It obviously depends when, right? Yeah. If you cast it after the door's already shut, you're dead, right?
I mean,
but I think opening hand is probably fantastic.
That's probably qualifies as a good sideboard card. I mean, so what's our plan? We're going to have Sabo's Web. We're going to Tranquil Domain multiple times for all the Oath of Druids. Like, one of the things that annoyed me was just like, I got Fran, right? I got him. I lackeyed him. I was like, lackey, put a creature in play. He's like, Oath of Druids. And I was like, disenchant the Oath of Druids. And he's like, Pyroclasm. I'm like, it's fine. I got another lackey. I got a ringleader. I'm reloading. And Fran was just like, second of Oath of Druids. And I was like,
yeah, he had a good draw too.
What the hell?
So, but what I'm saying is, I
drew all my sideboard cards.
Yeah, but I have literally never sided in a Tormod's Crypt. That's actually stunning to me. When I won that meetup, and you're just like, all right, play Jared's version, and I'm going to play Replenish. Like, I literally played a deck that had 3 Tormod's Crypts against a Replenish deck.
Tom and I went.
And I did inside the Replenish.
Tom and I tested it some more, and Tom just went 2 Replenish, 2 Naturalize, 2 Crypt. Or 2 blast. So it's like 2 blast, 2 crypt, 2 naturalize, and like blending sort of worked out for him. Like crypt is 0 mana. It's like 0 mana and counters replenish, right? So it's like,
yeah, but it's a second order. It's like actually a third order sideboard card. It's only good against a card that is only good if you've already done setup, and the setup always in your deck always costs 3 or more mana. Like it's just like how much better is it for me to just kill you?
Well, it's better for you. It's better for you to blast the intuition, right? But
I blast the setup card so their Replenish has no text. And remember, you're a deck with Wasteland, or this version has Rishon port. You just don't get to 4 if I'm killing you. Right? That was my thesis. Right? So I'm like, okay, I need to have certain cards in my deck because you might angel me. Right? That's like bar number 1. If Tormod's Crypt,
I forgot I had Exalted Angel.
Yeah, but Tormod's Crypt doesn't save me if you just play an angel.
Right? I actually have to play 2 angels because against most Goblins opponents, I need one for blocking and one for attacking.
Okay, yeah, but do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
A substantial fault point for me is you might have an angel. Like you're
just talking me into playing Replenish. I'm just gonna play Replenish with 30 lands.
Deck, but it's bad against red green.
I'll just play Replenish with 30 lands. What are you going to do if I have 30? What if I have 4 Sabo's Web?
With 4 Sabo's Web. Like, that seems awesome.
Pablo has been playing at least 2 Sabo's Web main. I don't know. I think
like that's a deck where there's not very much liability to playing Sabo's Web. Right? Like, it's not the best card in that deck, but it's fine. It's a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's at least interesting. I mean, the biggest problem for Replenish is when they draw a bunch of cards off Sylvan Library because you can't do.
All right, it's a
their life
10:59. You got to go.
I see that, but I will just type a quick message and pull up this Replenish list, and then we can close the loop on the podcast. I also have to rent my deck on TC Decks.
Yeah, you're gonna be super late. Hey, as far as we started late. We still put an hour and a half of pre-modern content.
Hour 50 actually. So we
pre-modern content.
We did our pre-modern content. We talked about Marvel Snap up until 15 minutes, and there was a quick detour to talk about Shazam versus Superman. So,
but you see, that's like an echo to your great article.
Yeah,
I think it has something to it.
No, I like it. Don't get me wrong, I like it, but it's just kind of I'm just ribbing you over time spent talking about not pre-modern. Okay, fine. I'm gonna go and play Burn against Green White Oath Peluche in
Good luck to your opponent, LOL.
I mean, I feel good, but anything can happen, you know. You still have to play the games.
Even I drew at that point.
So yeah. so
I will remind you, I never draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally down. I'll just play Lannyburn next week. As long as if you promise not to metagame against me specifically, I'll play Lannyburn next week.
Yeah, I mean, we almost can't say that on the podcast. We have to say our range, right? So we can say like might play Goblins, might play Burn.
I was planning to play Red Green. That was my number one deck.
You could play Red Green and I could play Lannyburn. If we meet up, then it's the money match except for reversed. So it's like win-win. Either you win the match or you win the money match.
I'm gonna throw the match if that
happens. Of course.
0% chance that I try to win.
Okay, so we can same 75 Lannyburn.
All right, let's same 75 Lannyburn. But
then, if we say that out loud, people are gonna pile the Circle of Protection Warmth on us. So it's a little awkward. Look, we might play. Okay, we're gonna same 75 either. Burn. We don't have two copies of Red Green.
We don't have two Red Greens.
We don't have two Red Greens. So it's either we're gonna same 75 Burn or Grotog, and then or either that or. Mike,
or we don't same 75.
Last time,
the other option is we don't same 75.
Or we don't same 75. Well, actually,
it's chaos.
Last time we declared what decks we were going to play, we said we were going to same 75 Grotog for the Endless Life, and then we didn't do that. So I guess we can say we're going to same 75 Burn, get everybody to put all their Burn hate into their sideboards, and then we'll just pivot.
Dreadnought.
I mean, yeah, we'll probably end up playing Dreadnought. I'll play Replenish. I'll be like, Replenish is unplayable right now. Best time to play Replenish. Love Spike Colony.
Love Spike Colony. Non-idiots. Goodbye.
Bye.
Game over.